I didn't know what C9 would pull out, and I was fully expecting like Oxy could be on ISO on Icebox or whatever. Like I had to prepare for everything, and obviously it's really hard. But um, like all the theory work prior just like makes it easy.
Hey guys, this is Pedro back with another interview covering VCT America Stage 2. For this occasion, I'm here accompanied once again by JoshRT, the head coach for G2 Esports, who are coming off of an opening stage victory over Cloud9 in said competition. So, Josh, I mean, at this point, I mean, we're basically friends, having been able to just do many interviews at this point of the season. But I mean, start off coming off with a victory over Cloud9. How are you feeling?
Great, man. I mean, I feel like every time I win, I get to talk to you, so it's always like a positive association. So, I mean, I can't complain. That was a tough win. And we all know about like the potential burnout that you can have after a long tournament at Masters. And so we had a quick recovery, a quick and intense recovery in a sense. And then we got back right at it, 3 days later. Um, Less so for me, obviously. So there was a lot of work that we had to go through with the new meta, um, new map pool additions with Haven coming back in. So like I was actually kind of worried about this game because this game is a big statement game for like how we'll be coming back into the next stage.
Yeah, it definitely was worse for just to have a good start and not having to start off on the back end, due to the fact that there's so little games to kind of do well in. And so covering the series now, just sort of just going through it real quick, winning Innocent, despite falling behind early on in that map, coming through with a comeback, and then falling in icebox, but then sort of doing a little bit of a copy paste type of thing in Lotus, just sort of covering the whole series overall. What do you think was the biggest obstacle that the team encountered against C9? Yeah, basically in the match.
I would say I think execution and mental errors were a little bit of an issue. Making the we made the right adjustments, or we called for the right adjustments, but we didn't really execute that very well. And so you can probably see that those ideas on VOD or on tape. Um, like so the Icebox game, like we knew they were going B, and we were making adjustments, but like we had small team play errors where like we would give up the first blood, and so just having that in a disadvantage, obviously going down a lot and not putting ourselves in the situations that we want to be in, proved it really hard to make that half more competitive. So fortunately, we didn't have enough runway to make a run ourselves on attack, and so we slipped that map. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it came down to like mental errors, I would say.
Then going over into those other two maps in the series, as I said, starting off not well, but then taking it at the very end there, off the back of a very great comeback in both of those two occasions. Sort of, what do you think just caused this switch to turn on for the team once you guys started playing on that defensive side? Because looking over in Lotus, you did not allow Cloud9 to win a single round on their attacking side. Just what do you think made that switch?
It's not a switch per se, as to just like a lot of comfort to decide that like we have a lot of protocols and drills, and just like the players just know what to do in all these situations. At least the situations they threw at us, and so um, yeah, I mean like a lot of my efforts and focus has been on defense, and it showed. So like the players feel really comfortable, and my hope is that I can recreate that similar feeling for the players on the attack, um, so that they don't feel as uh like they feel just as comfortable as they are on defense.
There was plenty of talk within the broadcast by Sideshow and Ben about how you guys made it a point to kind of neutralize Oxy back in playoffs for stage one, and we kind of see a little bit of a bit of a repeat in this series, especially on Lotus on that second half. Just sort of. how did you guys kind of approach him, just neutralizing him? Because of course, Oxy is the main guy when it comes to Cloud9, and so how did you guys kind of work around him and just kind of neutralize him in a way that benefited you guys ultimately?
I feel like honestly, I felt like we did a poor job against for that compared to the first go. The first go, like we didn't give him a chance, right? Um, and it's just fundamental play. That's what I preach really, and just making sure the fights that you have are advantageous. And if you can make it more advantageous by utility or numbers or just high low peaks, anything that like makes it so that a single player can't just take over a game. Um, and and that comes with like some level of discipline or knowing like which fights that you want to like as a team you want to take. That kind of slipped, I would say. Like we didn't play a very I didn't we didn't play a very clean game on attack. That's for sure. So that's something that we're gonna have to go back and practice and just like um re up and refresh some of those ideas and concepts that worked the first time, and so that we can have those super solid attacks and defense where no player like that can have that much impact. And it's all about limiting impact, anyways. Like he's gonna find his. He's so talented. So like it's about limiting impact and going with what you can live with.
Yeah. And as I said, with a victory over this Cloud9 team, you guys are now in position of playoffs with a 4-3 overall record, and just then having putting yourselves in a good position to remain in that junction for the next few weeks. Sort of now pivoting back towards before stage 2. You mentioned a little bit about how the team was moving on from Masters and having to kind of go through a very rigorous preparation plan to sort of um, arrive at this point at a pretty comfortable position. And so, going a little bit into detail on that, if I may ask, what exactly did you guys kind of do? Exercise wise, process wise, in order to just not be as like negatively affected coming out of an international appearance as like other teams such as Sentinels did back in stage 1.
Yeah. So fortunately, like a lot of this information's out there, like how other teams dealt with it or how they suffered through those kind of moments, and so it's all about like anticipating it and preparing for it and making sure the recovery is intense, so to speak. So like when we're off, we're off. Like don't think about the game. Go to your loved ones, have some fun. Go to Disneyland or California Adventure. Like have fun. Enjoy the time off. Enjoy the fruits of your labor. But come Friday or Saturday or whatever. Like when I call the players back, we're back to work, guys. Like look, there's a new meta. Let me prepare for you guys, preliminary thoughts, and then we can, start collaborating a lot. So, I mean, it's tougher on me, but, I will gladly take on that burden a little bit so that we can get something going quickly, going to practice. And so after that, it's just making the process kind of fun, like it's a new meta. We can experiment a little bit. We can see what other teams are playing, see how our ideas are compared to theirs, like how those ideas like fight for each other. So I just try to make it as interesting and collaborative so that the players feel like this is their team. And so like they take pride in making sure like we don't fall off. And like I've been pushing that message like, yo, we were so close. Let's keep it going. Don't let these other guys catch up. They will catch up. And sure enough, C9 took a map away from us like that. So like massive props to them. But every team has that ability. Even the 0-5 team. Like I saw Furia take a series off of 100 Thieves, right? And you can say the same thing about any team in this league. So can't really when we rest, we fully rest, but when we're back to work, we're 100% in it.
I want to ask about what your view of the meta is right now, as you said, because of as you said, the new changes specifically on the duelist role with the ISO and the neon, and then ISO getting a buff, and then ISO now getting a nerf, I believe, sometime around this recording, and stuff like that. And so, how what is your read of the meta? How and what are some of the biggest things that you kind of had to work on in terms of preparation for this team? Before this stage and even now, coming off of this first week.
Well, I mean, without like giving away too much, I think the easiest like surface level stuff that I can talk about is just with the duelist change, you're gonna have to consider like how do I build around the duelist? Is Neon stronger than before? Is it really with like one relay bolt gone, but he can sprint around a lot, so rotation acceleration is really high. Um, and not to mention how strong ISO is. And I think we like the whole scene knows like ISO is like super broken. Even after the nerf in 9.0 patch 9.0 from a 20 second to the 12 second, um, it still outlasts every single piece of util in the game besides smokes. So it's like, well, anytime you adjust a timer like that, it's just about the skill of the player of like figuring out when to pop the ability or not. And so like it will eventually like pan out in the scene where like people experiment more and more and figure this out. So I expect like a lot of teams to just like make minor adjustments or massive adjustments depending on like how they feel about the changes. So yeah, I mean that makes my job really hard, right? I don't know. I didn't know what C9 would pull out, and I was fully expecting like Oxy could be on ISO and Icebox or whatever. Like I had to prepare for everything, and obviously it's really hard. But um, like all the theory work prior just like makes it easy, you know.
He did bust out the Reina, and I mean, you guys were definitely saw a bit of him doing well on that front, but you guys didn't pulled out on top of that. You know, obviously with the W. Just sort of now asking one more question before I wrap it up. Now that G2 are coming into this stage as the best performing team in the international stage back in Master Shanghai with a third place finish. Now there's kind of more attention towards this team compared to back then. After kickoff, even before stage one, even also like during stage one playoffs. How do you kind of look at the perception of the team nowadays amidst this team's current form and do you feel this team kind of now has received the respect that it deserved after coming off of this Masters appearance?
I mean, I'm not totally sure like where. I mean, at the end of the day, like we got to win our games. So whether the respect comes from the press or just like Twitter or whatever it is, like social media, um, I try not to pay too much attention to it, and I hope my players don't as well. Like, because it's double edged, right? If you like to take praise, that may prevent you from getting better. And but if you take in too much criticism, it might crush you. So like you try to keep a level head and just keep. It's as cliche as it is. Like trust the process. Like just understand that. Like as a head coach, I had this kind of plan of how I want to improve the team outlined. And we've been kind of hitting those general markers. And so like Masters Shanghai definitely accelerated the development of this team to even more closer knit, better team chemistry, and like making sure our communication and team play is like at a reasonably high level, and that's what's required to be a championship team. And yeah, I hope we continue to do this. But we don't, I we don't let it get to our heads because, like I said, all these teams are so damn good. They're at any game they can just pull an upset or upset. I don't really see us as favorites still. Like I still like to think of us as underdogs.
Yeah, the words definitely echo that of Valyn when I asked him this similar question before the start of stage two. And no doubt you guys have definitely been on that good process, having covered this team, talking to you so many times at this point. And yeah, hopefully you guys can keep on going and keep on doing well for the duration of stage two. That said, I'm going to wrap up the interview right here. Josh, once again, thank you so much for taking the time and best of luck for the next one.
Thanks, Pedro.